right, I'll give a minute till Gan's getting coffee.
Well, Gan's getting coffee.
Let's get this going. Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order. It's 9:30 a.m. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation of Laguna Woods, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation. Today is Tuesday, September 5th, and we do have a quorum. We are missing two of our directors, but we still have our quorum here. And I would like to have Director Skillman please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence for the Maui fire victims.
We'll start with the pledge. If you'll join me in pledging allegiance to our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oops, sorry for that.
We lost on Maui. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to acknowledge the media that may be present in person or online, and I would like to call for an approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
Yvonne.
Who motioned?
I so moved.
Okay.
Elsie seconds.
You second?
Anyone?
Or you have a correction
I think,
or an addition?
Just take a second, I'm really sorry. I don't know if it's here or someplace else. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Well, I have something on item 10J, I think it's a correction. Is that correct?
For the
Oh, we'll ask Joan.
consent calendar?
10B,
On the consent calendar?
10B, the November 8th ballot. 10B.
but that's not the agenda.
Well,
I'm number 4.
no, I know we're on 4. Well, okay. I guess I should just wait till 10B.
Okay.
Excuse me. Oh, hey, Joan, it's nice to see you back.
I apologize.
Okay. All right, so do I hear any objections? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as written. Now I'd like to call for an approval of the minutes for the August 1st, 2023 GRF Board Regular Open Meeting.
So moved.
Yvonne seconded. Any objections or corrections? Okay, how about August 7th, the business plan review? Motion? Don't need a motion? Okay. Any objections? Hearing none, August 17th, 2023, the GRF Board Agenda Prep Meeting. Any corrections, any objections? Hearing none, approved. Report of the chair. I have something to say. Yeah, I know. Everybody always says that. You know, we have some really important things coming ahead of us in this community. We have, all the boards have open seats that are up for election. And I just want to, I'm all about education. And if those of you who know me know that I stand always on education. So educating yourself on the candidates that are running is of utmost and critical importance to the future of this community. All the boards play a vital role in making this place run. So I want you to do your homework and make sure that you really research who you're going to give a vote to. Character matters, ethics matter, intelligence matters. Those things are really important. And a quality board member should be able to make good decisions, uphold their fiduciary responsibilities, and have a full understanding of the governing documents that rule this community. Every board has their own challenges and goals, and being able to research solutions, being able to collaborate with board members and staff is really important. Serving on a board involves financial, legal, and ethical responsibilities. So researching can uncover any red flags. So to cut to the chase, identify those candidates that can fit that bill. And our future depends on having good, quality members of our board. So educate yourself and vote wisely. Thank you. And now, CEO report.
Honorable Acting President, members of the board, this morning I have a few updates. And I would like to start off with an update on the Bright Ideas program, highlighting cost savings ideas generated by employees. The Bright Ideas program was implemented in January and recognizes that employees are a valuable source of ideas that may reduce costs, promote financial stability, enhance service quality and processes, offer innovation, improve safety, decreasing liability exposure, and provide other possible benefits. Programs like these to incentivize employees to share beneficial ideas are an industry best practice. In the program, qualifying suggestions are eligible for awards ranging from honorary to $2,000 based on the suggestion impact. Suggestions that save more than $50,000 receive a minimum of $3,000, with the award amount to be discussed with the VMS board. Program funding comes from savings achieved through implementation of program ideas. And to date, 5 awards have been issued, saving more than $71,000 annually. And these are reflected in the proposed business plan. The most recent Bright Idea recipient is Ryan Costello, the warehouse manager, who worked with the water heater vendor and distributor to improve the purchase process. Water heaters are special order items designed to fit in available spaces. There are no stock items readily available from local suppliers. By agreeing to purchase a specified amount annually, the vendor and distributor will store units locally and provide units at a reduced cost. This idea saves more than $26,000 annually. I want to thank all employees who have submitted ideas, and I am pleased to share that there are currently 7 additional suggestions under review, including a certified mailing reduction, which may save $4,600 annually, a paper reduction, which may save $5,300 annually, and a uniform modification, which may save $9,000 annually. I also want to, switching gears, let residents know that the manor alteration counter is being remodeled. So the location for walk-in service to deliver services to our residents will now be in resident services at window 7. The counter is being remodeled to deliver more accessible service and accommodate a better experience for our residents. So again, please see window 7 in resident services if you need to talk to manor alteration services, and this remodel is expected to last approximately 6 weeks. I also want to encourage our residents to visit the new open space area and celebrate the newest village asset that features pet-friendly, drought-tolerant plantings, decomposed granite walkways, benches and tables, a great place for congregating with your neighbors. The location is by Building 695, and it opened with a grand opening last Thursday and is pictured on your screen. I also want to briefly highlight the current cost-saving efficiency initiatives that staff is working on. These include exploring options for our 2024 employee health insurance benefit. Similar steps were taken in 2023 and resulted in a $500,000 savings while enhancing employee benefits and decreasing their out-of-pocket costs. So we're hoping to do the same for 2024. We're also implementing non-value added tasks identified by staff to enhance efficiency and reduce costs. An example is reducing the reporting frequency on certain reports. We're also beginning to comprehensively review repeat service orders to diagnose the root cause of service requests, resulting in multiple follow-ups to the same manner. And lastly, I would like to conclude with a reminder on how residents can help reduce costs. And one way is to use the Dwelling Live app. This is the easiest, fastest way to welcome friends and family to the village. The user-friendly app allows residents to send guests, vendors, and so forth passes via email or text 24 hours a day using their smartphone, tablet, or computer. This reduces telephone calls to resident services and security. Please look for the Great Dwelling Live tutorials on the community website and the village YouTube channel. And with that, that is my update this morning, Madam President.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you for that. And now we have the open forum. So some housekeeping notes regarding the open forum. If you are listening and would like to come on Zoom, you can go to zoom.us and /J/meeting number 98131257242 or call 1-669-900-6833 or email meeting@vmsinc.org to have your message read during the open forum. Only members may address the Board of Directors regarding items not on the agenda during this time period and within the jurisdiction of this Board of Directors. The board reserves the right to limit each speaker to 3 minutes with a total of 30 minutes allotted for the open forum. A member may speak only once during this forum. Speakers may not give their time to other people, no audio or video recording by attendees, and no rude or threatening comments. So, Michaela, our first speaker, please.
Yes, first speaker is Chris Collins.
Thank you. And while Chris is coming to the podium, normally we don't respond to the open forum speakers until the end of all the speakers. So I know that sometimes people question why we don't respond, but Chris.
Thank you. Chris Collins, 3306Q, and I'm here with an update on the work of the foundation, which is on behalf of residents experiencing temporary financial crisis. Planning for the inevitable. Will your wishes be followed? Have you had that conversation yet? When we were teenagers, that conversation had to do with sex. Now that we are in our golden years, that conversation's very different. That conversation is now about the future healthcare wishes and ensuring that they are followed should we suffer a serious illness and cannot communicate with our doctor. That conversation and ensuring our future healthcare wishes are carried out is the focus of the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village series of broadcasts and the subject of planning for the inevitable. In August, this started, and there was several of these broadcasts. It's part of a series with future broadcasts which examine their other aspects of the topic. In other words, looking at decisions we need to make before it's too late, but unfortunately often avoid. Tuning in here, Dr. Matthew Jennison, the medical director of hospice program at Memorial Care Saddleback Hospital, and Dr. Larry Tran, the inpatient medical director for the hospital. They first highlight what can go wrong if someone's healthcare wishes are not known, particularly if the person cannot communicate or has lost the ability to understand the severity of their illness. Among the topics discussed are the creation of advanced medical directives a designation of a surrogate healthcare agent, and the physician's order for life-sustaining treatment, and the acronym is the California POLST form. They discuss who can be an agent, whether a surrogate agent has to be a family member, how you can change your agent designation, and what happens if two agents disagree about what should be done. Most important, they discuss the necessity of having a conversation about your future healthcare wishes with those close to you. So if you have any questions about this topic or the upcoming broadcast, please contact the Foundation at 949-268-2246 or the Foundation at conline.com. So for more information about the Foundation, please go to our website, which is thefoundationoflagunawoodsvillage.org. And please note that donations can be made using PayPal on the Foundation website. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Joe Fitzcomb.
I only get 14 seconds. Oh, there it is. Good morning, directors. I just mentioned something since the CEO spoke. I have seldom had needed services in my house, but you did get 3 5-star ratings from me recently, so thank you for that. I dropped a book off for you to look at. You know, it's for every director we have looking out for us, we have 1,600, not that many, about 1,400 to 1,500 residents. And so much information is hard for you to ingest in all this. And we really need, I think the board, these directors should have the option to have 3 volunteers to help them. Maybe one for security, one for factual, maybe one for community outreach. I spent nearly 1,500 hours on one project when I was not on the board to correct some things that were going on here. And we can't expect you to do that for everything that comes across your desk. I gave you a book just to show some things where sometimes information can go wrong. I spoke often about the village games. It was represented that the clubs weren't interested and all kinds of stuff. Well, I brought the clubs in. They were. It was mentioned it was going down like every year. It's been up, it averaged 400 per year before VMS was here, and the last year was up 10%. This is the factual things very few people know. When we did the pickleball course, we had someone I liked, actually, our official expert of what he did, a licensed expert, and gave me information that was political and not factual. It defied gravity, to put it that way. So we almost spent a whole bunch of money for no particular reason. And you always have to look what's behind something. When we first talked about the pickleball courts, and I played pickleball and paddle and tennis, we had a situation where I wasn't here speaking, and I wasn't a board member or anything, and I gave her a proposal. Pickleball applauded. Tennis applauded. Paddle tennis applauded. And they voted against it. Why? Because they just wanted us out to give that to golf, kind of a political favor. So things we vote on, and all the analysis, and you'll have it in there, of what was put in VMS by a newspaper, and look what I said about it, you'll find out that there are serious flaws in all the information you got. So it's so important you can do your own research, because VMS may not be right all the time. I'm not right all the time. And we have situations where we know people. Some of these sports I played, I know them, and I know them in triple-digit figures in some of these sports. We're not being careful sometimes, and it's not the fault of the directors. I think it's informationally, we don't get the outreach we should, or we get information from people that perhaps isn't that reliable. I try to give you information that's not to the preponderance of the evidence or beyond a reasonable doubt, but to an absolute certainty. And I ask you in the future, pay attention to the residents, do the best you can with it. That's just the history of some things I've mentioned, other people mentioned. Just look at it, see where maybe some facts sometimes went awry. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Michael Landry.
Michael Landry, 693B. Thanks. I want to thank the board for the lovely landscaping at Building 695. I'm at 693. It's gorgeous. Love it. It's really what we needed. My reason for being here is totally personal and selfish. I own a van, and I have it parked in the RV lot. I think I've talked to you all about this before. I would like to be able to have an RFID tag on that van. It's not a big motorhome, it's a 20-foot van. To be able to come in and out of the village without having to act like a guest. I'm not a guest. I own a share in this corporation, and I would like to have the same capabilities as I have with my other car. I don't think it's asking too much. When I went to try to get an RFID, I was told, well, it has a kitchen, it has a bathroom, it has this, it has that. Has no bearing on anything whatsoever except getting in and out of the village. I don't see the problem with that. If anybody wants to cuss and discuss, I'd be happy to do it. But it's just and I'm more than happy to pay for the thing, obviously. But it's a pain in the keister to have to stand in line like a guest, which I am not. So, one positive, I hope my presence here hasn't been a problem for the lady who's still looking at grass from the green side. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Final speaker for open forum is Andre Torn.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to share with some thoughts with you. My name is Andre Torn, and I'm living in 188B. Now, I'm glad that our VMS has this award for good ideas that improve our service here, okay, and give them award on their ideas. But I'm questioning why don't we have an award given to the residents that come up with great ideas. I'll give you an example. I've been talking about the quality improvements in this place a lot. Last report, VMS director reported that for the first half of the year, we have 59,000 work requests. And that demonstrated that staffs are working so hard. Okay, we have so many people solving all these problems. Okay, but my problem is how come we have 59,000 work requests? Why can't we do it right the first time? So I would like to propose that the board started asking, give a directive. Okay, don't get into how to do it. Give a directive to the board, to the VMS, say, reduce this work request to half of it, 30,000. Okay, next year reduce another to 15,000. Do it right the first time. You know how much money we wasted on these, do it over and over again. We have to have a customer service, keep on recording the calls, keep on tracking all these calls, and also we work requests, not just calls, but also emails. And also we have to have the staff on each department keep track of which one has done what, who has done what, okay? And we have to have a staff staff them so they can go out and do it. The supervisor go out and find out what the problem is, and then staff go out and doing the. These are all waste money. Why can't we do it right the first time? Okay, this is the kind of quality improvement we need to improve first. And I've also recommended that each department identify 3 most critical, the biggest problems in your area, and find a way to solve them. Okay, if we can solve the first 3 biggest problems that repeated coming in, we don't have that many different requests. There are only 3. If we can find 3 every year or every quarter, they can solve the problem, reduce the problem. Then we will not have to do that over and over again. That's a waste of money. Okay. Hopefully, I'll get some award because I made this quality improvement recommendation. And if anybody thinks it's not worthwhile to go ahead and reach these goals, please let us know. Okay, there's a reason that you don't want to do things. You never do these things. Okay, so why not do the property improvement, quality improvement, and make us better life here? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that is all.
That's it? All right. So anybody have a response to any of the speakers that they'd like to share? Joan?
I just want to say to the foundation that it's very important to know that some surprise can come into your life. And if you're not prepared for it, it's terrible, especially if you can't speak for yourself. So pay attention to what is out there for planning for the future. Thank you.
And to the gentleman named Mike, I suggest you go to the Security and Community Access Meeting, which is chaired by Director Skillman, and that would be under their jurisdiction to start with. Have you been there? All right, we don't usually engage, so I'm just going to tell you that you need to talk to Director Skillman at their meeting, Security and Community Access. Okay, and Joe, thank you for sharing your book. Yes, Martin.
Hi, I see Eric is back here. Eric, what is the maximum size for a van for parking in the regular parking within the village? Is there a maximum size?
I don't know what the actual size is, and I don't believe he would be prohibited from being able to come in and fill up his or remove all the stuff that he needs for an RV, especially one that's 20 feet long. That's a van.
That's pretty big, 20 feet.
Yeah, 20 feet, but we have RVs. Our RV storage goes up to 45. We have pretty sizable spaces, as I'm sure Mr. Landry, I think it was Landry, was aware. But I think his question is whether he can be issued that RFID, and I made a note of it to find out why he couldn't.
Well, I brought the question up because some people have purchased the big Amazon delivery vans, and
Sprinters.
they're converting them on their own. And they're huge.
We do have,
and they have, and they're parking.
And there's also problems with some of the vehicles for height restrictions because of them obscuring at stop signs or intersections and stuff like that. We get complaints about even just normal vehicles that are allowed to come into there and park because of where they're parked at. And but I think I would be working with resident services is to find out how we can resolve this before we actually would go to SCAC on this type of thing, interdepartment, and just to find out why we couldn't accommodate something like this or could.
Okay,
could occur.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay, so now we're under item 10, the consent calendar. All matters
Hey,
listed
Deb.
on, pardon me?
Sorry,
Go ahead, Elsie.
your pretty blonde hair was hiding my hand.
You have to speak.
I just want to, okay, Mr. Landry, so why do you want to bring your RV into the campus? Do you want to unload it and, is that it, to just load it, but you don't want to park it there? No. Because I'll tell you, even people that have guests, even guests who obviously don't have RFIDs, right? I mean, first of all, it doesn't, I don't know, everybody's perception is different, but you can still bring it in, you just want to buy an RFID. Okay, well, just generally, these large things, we live on a cul-de-sac, a lot of people live on a cul-de-sac that has like curves and curved, and people come in there and they park and they're only there for maybe 2 or 3 days, but I'm telling you, it just backs up traffic and people get confused, and at night, and there's a thing they weren't expecting, and we really hate them in the village. I mean, as a resident, I'm not
No, we don't
speaking-
have two-way communication at this point, but what I would like to add to that is that I think that the fear would be that it would be parked long-term, and we don't have any control over that. So,
Security doesn't allow that. I don't want to do that.
okay, this is not a two-way conversation. I'm telling you, we've took Mr. Landry's comments, and Chief Nunez is going to address them, and Director Rosa and Director Elsie have decided, they were going to comment, which is fine. So now we're moving on, and you will get an answer from Chief Nunez. Thank you. Okay. No.
No?
Nope.
You don't want to talk about
No. We've heard it for the last 5 years. Thanks.
Thank you. And no change for the 5 years.
Actually, there's been quite a bit of change, but you don't see that.
No.
Okay,
59,000.
that's enough. Thank you. Okay, all matters listed under the consent calendar are recommended for action by committees and will be enacted by the board by one motion. In the event an item is removed from the consent calendar by members of the board, such items or item shall be the subject of further discussion and action by the boards. So, LC.
I had a question / correction on item 10B.
Yes.
On the consent calendar, and again, I apologize for bringing it up earlier. 10B, and it says 10B for the November 8th ballot, the ballots being turned in, I guess, and it changed it from 5 p.m. to 8 a.m., which is fine, right? Because of something. But then in part 3, page 3 of 4, it says 10 a.m. So I just wondered which one was correct.
Oh, it's the time.
Did I make myself clear on that?
Yes.
It conflicts.
It
Yeah, it does.
conflicts.
Doesn't it conflict? I mean, I thought it did, but then I thought maybe I wasn't seeing something.
It conflicts with the actual vote. The vote is at 10 a.m. that same day.
Okay.
And now
yeah.
it says that they're due at 10 a.m. So I think there is a mistake.
Oh, that's, okay, so then, good, I brought it up.
It should be 5 p.m.
10 a.m. is the correct time, so 10 a.m. is the correct time.
So it's two different things, it's not in conflict?
The correct time is 10 a.m. So the schedule attached in attachment 1 is correct, and there's a typo in the
It
staff
says
report.
ballots due back, it doesn't say vote taken, it just says,
Look at ballots due back, and then 2 lines down, annual meeting date is November 8th at 10 a.m. And the ballots are due back at 10 a.m. the same day.
So they can
know.
ballot in?
Well, then-
Which
well-
meeting is this?
okay, if that's wrong, wait a minute, if that's wrong, then, yeah, excuse me, Joe. If that's wrong, then wait a minute, wait. They changed it to 8 a.m. on page 1 of 4.
I just clarified that 10 a.m. is the correct time. Please disregard the 8 a.m. in the staff report, and please defer to the 10 a.m. on
Okay.
attachment 1.
Sorry, there's great minds here, and I didn't, so 8 a.m. is out, 10 a.m. is in, and somehow we're gonna have the meeting at the same time that we turn in the ballots. That's okay with me, I don't,
Yes, I think that's how we do it, or have done it.
Okay.
oh, that's
Okay.
right, it is, that's right, it is a meeting to count the ballots, right? Okay, so good, so I wasn't completely wrong. Thank you. That was
Okay.
it.
Okay, leave it.
Okay, so, any other changes? Okay, all in favor? Is that-
Any objection?
Any objections to the consent calendar? Hearing none, the consent calendar items are all approved. Okay, next. Get back to that page. Okay. Okay, so, where are we at, Joan?
11A.
11A? Okay, so unfinished business. Entertain a motion to approve pricing rates for electric vehicle charging station. July was the initial notification, we revised in August and postponed. So do we have anybody speaking on this? Okay, Joan will read the resolution.
Okay. Resolution 90-23-XX, pricing rates for electric vehicle charging stations. Whereas the board recognizes the need to amend the pricing rates for electric vehicle charging stations as necessary, and whereas the establishment of these rates are impacted by the electric rates adopted by Southern California Edison, SCE. Now therefore be it resolved September 5th, 2023, that the board hereby approves the following pricing rates for electric vehicle charging stations effective upon adoption of this resolution for the period between September 2023 and September 2024. Level 2 chargers, GRF fleet vehicles, 0. Members and employees per kilowatt hour is 31 cents. Other users per kilowatt hour is 34 cents. Parking rates are $2 per hour after 4 hours. For level 3 chargers, again, GRF fleet vehicles 0, members and employees kilowatt hours is 31 cents. Other users kilowatt hours are 44 cents. Parking rates are after 2 hours is $2 after 1 hour, I'm sorry. Resolved further that the next revision to the pricing rates for electric vehicle charging stations is to be approved by the board in August of 2024. And resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution as written. I move we approve this resolution.
Any objections?
Need a
Any
second.
questions?
I second
Yvonne,
it.
second.
Okay.
Now, go ahead.
Any questions, any objections? I have one question. Oh, I have a question. Did we resolve, whoever worked this out, that we're now at a better position with what we're getting back? I'm assuming the finance committee reviewed
Yeah,
that?
first part.
Okay.
Madam President, yes, we resolved that. The new rates reflect that for our residents, we recover what we're spending.
Okay.
And next year, we will review again those rates to make sure that we continue to do so.
Okay, thank you. I apologize. I was out in August, so I didn't hear all these things. Okay, I think it passes then. Nobody
Are there any
objected?
objections?
No objections. We already asked that. I just had a question. All right, moving on. Updating the committee appointments, item 11B. Secretary?
Resolution 90-23-XX. The only change in this list is under the Broadband Ad Hoc Committee, where Joan Milliman as chair is eliminated, Martin Rosa is put in as chair, and Reza Karimi is added for GRF. I would like to move to amend this as follows. I would like not to eliminate Joan Milliman for her need to provide the continuity that's available. I've been on that committee since the beginning, and I know all that's necessary. One of the major things that's needed right now is a proper education for the whole entire community. So I propose that we leave Martin as chair, add Reza because it's an ad hoc committee, and not eliminate myself. And I need a second.
All right.
Jim seconds.
I'll second that.
Okay, so all in favor of the amendment that Joan just made? Are there any objections, any questions? Okay, all in favor of letting Joan stay on the ad hoc committee as a member? Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. Any objections? No? All right. That passes.
Thank you.
And Martin is now the chair, and Joan is still on the committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess I'm next. All right, new business, and I believe we may have a speaker on this. So 12A is entertain a motion to discuss and consider hiring a traffic engineer consultant to study the intersection stop signs and crosswalks on Avenida Sevilla and Via Mendoza. Will someone be giving the staff report? I see Chief Nunez coming. And then I think, Mikhail, we have a speaker on this one, right? Okay.
Okay, now I'll read it after.
Okay.
Thank you, First Vice President. And members of the board, what you see before you is something that's been really taking us just a little over a year to kind of come to a little bit of a resolution. And the recommendation is that for the Avenida Sevilla and Via Mendoza two-way stop sign and crosswalk to a four-way stop sign and crosswalk with that it be done in a manner that's prudent and that we utilize a traffic engineer consultant to do this, and which has an unbudgeted appropriation of $7,581 to be funded from the operating fund. Just to give you a quick background on this, since about August of 2022, a group of residents, as you see, concerned residents and friends of safety submitted a request and petition before the SEAC to have this considered. We reviewed this, and we went out and set up a bunch of a speed. I'm trying to think what it is. Passive minder, minder to determine the speeds and the traffic in the area and count the traffic in the area. And some of that you'll see in the report below, which states the percentage of vehicles that were below the speed limit, which says 85%, 13% of the vehicles were moderately above, 26 to 35, and 1% were excessively above the speed limit, which is above 36 miles per hour, with the average speed during this period that we rated it, when it was a month long, was 21 miles per hour. After doing that, we brought back a staff report regarding this matter to the SCAC, and they reviewed it, and by a vote of 3-2, the committee denied the request. Sometime after that, I'd met with actually Mr. Quigley, who I think is the speaker you'll be hearing momentarily about this, and he was not able to attend that meeting. He wanted to be able to present some new data that he had actually had, and wanted to present before them because he wasn't able to attend that meeting. And the chair of the meeting had met offline with Mr. Quigley, and then he decided that he wanted him to present his material. His material they went out and bought radar guns to do speed, and they were kind of secreted, if you will, in different places to do that. And with our speed minder, it obviously, when people see it, there is a little bit of a deterrence for people to slow down when they see their speed up and whatnot. But usually we hit them at the moment, that they start to slow down. And that's why we track what their rate of speed is after they hit once, and it's approach, and then after they leave the area. But his numbers were a little bit different. My opinion during this whole thing was that none of us are coming up with a scientific way of evaluating these speeds and be able to assess the traffic patterns and what would actually work best in that area. And I wasn't actually against the stop signs or the crosswalks, actually. So what happened is Mr. Quigley and his group, he representing the group, came up before and made a presentation to SEAC, and then they, back on June 21st of 2023, and they voted, back in February, and they voted to pass that and to do so without the use of, or to enlist the services of, a traffic engineer consultant. Part of the reason for that, I believe, was because of the delay. They just wanted to have it, work and not have to go through the process of hiring somebody and then having them do the study and all of that. And then I brought it before the Finance Committee for approval, and a vote 5-1. The committee approved hiring the traffic engineer and the consultant to study the intersection at Sevilla and Mendoza. And that's before you. So just simply this is, any time that you hire a traffic control engineer, they are going to evaluate, signs. There's even like something as simple, and it doesn't sound that simple, but there's a light, that's out on the intersection on the main road thoroughfare, that if people are approaching that, they can visibly see that light. So if it's green and it takes a while to get green, they tend to speed up a little bit to try to get through there. And that was reflective in some of the studies that we looked at too. So something like shading that light, like a traffic engineer would know, you could put some lens on top of that, so you would have to be within a certain distance to actually see that it was green, that would help. But there's all kinds of little, issues that come up with traffic engineers trying to rate this, but it's the best practice that there is, and it protects, Laguna Woods, Village from, exposure to any kind of unnecessary liability, and making sure that it's done science-based. And they look at all the road markings and all the other concerns that are associated before even possibly that intersection. So the financial analysis of this project was about $5,500 when we last checked, and for a traffic consultant to come out there and review that. The stop signs and telespur poles and traffic paint were, they were $447, about $500, and the labor was about $1,600, with the total that I gave you earlier. So as I said, the recommendation from the staff is to approve the traffic engineer for this project so that we can move forward with the project and get that going.
Thank you very much. I do want Joan to read the resolution before we do our motion and hear from the speaker.
Resolution 90-23-XX, traffic engineer consultant to study the intersection of Avenida Sevilla and Via Mendoza. Whereas the Security and Community Access Committee, SCAC, has recognized the need to convert the intersection of Avenida Sevilla and Via Mendoza from a two-way stop sign and crosswalk to a four-way stop sign and crosswalk. And whereas anytime traffic control signs or roadway markings are introduced in a community, it is imperative to retain a traffic engineer. The retention of the traffic engineer will ensure that traffic patterns are evaluated and the appropriate strategies are developed to improve the safety and efficiency upon the placement of new traffic control signs or roadway markings. Now, therefore, be it resolved on September 5th, 2023, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby approves retaining of a traffic engineer consultant to conduct a study on the need and impact of converting the intersection of Avenida Sevilla and Via Mendoza from a two-way stop sign and crosswalk to a four-way stop sign and crosswalk, with an unbudgeted appropriation of $7,581 to be funded from the operating fund. And resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of this corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move that we approve this resolution.
Okay, for the purposes of discussion, Mr. Quigley, I guess you would like to speak, but I think we're ready to vote on this, and you're welcome to speak. You're not? Okay. All right, then let Mr. Quigley come up and present. Oh, Egon?
Yeah, so as I so often do, I went out to the location and looked at it. And when you're coming from the creek side of the road, up to make a left turn or right turn, there's a stop sign there, okay? But down on the right, looking down to the right, back towards the main part of the village, there's a bend in the road. And that's the only reason to put a stop sign here. It's like when we're leaving the gate at Clubhouse 7, there's a sign that says no right turn on red. And the reason is because traffic designers have determined that there's not enough distance for you to see oncoming traffic to make a safe turn. Well, this location is about the same. To make a safe left turn, you really want people that are going by to stop. And all of this talk about speed, and I can see the light way down there. That light down there is so short, you don't have a car fast enough to get there anyway, so you're not going to do that. So I heartily approve the idea of putting the stop sign in, but the notion of having to hire an engineer to discuss this thing is absurd, okay? I mean, let's just go and put the stop sign in. We have hundreds of stop signs. I doubt that we hired an engineer for every one of those stop signs. Maybe we didn't even hire an engineer for any of them. And why would we want to? I mean, if you determine that you would like to have a stop sign, and we have many stop signs in places where normally you wouldn't have them. We do it because of our community aging. So go ahead, put the stop sign in, but please don't waste the $5,000 on a traffic engineer.
Thank you. Yvonne, you have something to say?
Oh, yeah. Well, my question was, does the $7,581 include the traffic engineer and the restriping in the sign? I wanted to make that clear in my mind.
I see
Yikes.
Elsie's hand raising slowly.
I want to emphasize that this has been through the committees, and I think everybody's pretty much okay with the additional stop sign, but as far as the extra money for the traffic engineer, it's like, I don't like the optics of putting in a stop sign and there being a crash the very next month because nobody knew it was there, or because there's something there that we didn't anticipate. And while a traffic engineer can't necessarily prevent that, it can show that the board was following its due diligence in the safety of this village. So I think $5,000 or $6,000 is cheap to protect our integrity.
Thank you. So that's an interesting point that I hadn't really thought about, but why can't we just move forward with putting, Chief Nunez, why can't we just move forward without an engineer study? Siobhan?
If you don't have a certified traffic engineer review the situation, there's exposure to GRF if there's an accident.
Okay.
And then a subject matter expert is brought in, and they can say, this is a deficient stop sign for these reasons. GRF is liable.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
and
that's
that's
what
what
I was just curious about.
Was I not clear? 'Cause
No,
it's- I mean,
Yeah,
oh, okay, good.
yeah. I just wanted clarity myself.
Yeah, they also help with potential signage prior to the stop sign if they feel it's necessary. So they make a lot of other recommendations other than whether a stop sign should be there or not. The Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices actually has warrants listed as to when they would use them, when they wouldn't. I think the director already mentioned that, that he believes, based on his experience, that, that there's a bend and that would require the stop sign. Well, they would actually give us the reason and the warrants and for that kind of thing. And as the CEO had mentioned, it really helps to limit our exposure to liability, unnecessary liability, if we are doing our due diligence and securing a professional for their services.
Well, that's exactly what I wanted to hear, because I just needed that clarity. So, are we ready to vote?
No.
No?
I want to counter that. Did we hire a traffic engineer when we put all those flashing lights on some of the stop signs? I don't think we did.
A long time ago.
Pardon me? We hired an engineer to approve those? Okay, did we hire a traffic engineer for any other stop signs? Because I don't see the danger that a traffic sign, a stop sign, creates. I mean, you see the stop sign, you stop for it, and that's it. How are you going to have an accident? I mean, I understand that people may not be used to having a stop sign there, but wherever you add a new stop sign, people are not used to having it. I know that for a fact, because they added one at where my mother used to live, and the first time I went through that thing, I never even saw it. But I just think that the traffic engineer is a waste of money. Thank you.
Yeah, well, the cautionary step would be, especially if you got a curve, is to put a stop ahead sign, X amount of feet, whatever, 500 feet, or whatever it is.
Well, that's what an engineer can help us with.
Right, so especially when you're dealing with that curve.
Yeah. Okay, well, does Mr. Quigley still want to speak, or can we vote? It's up to you. Yeah, I mean, I think most of the board's made a decision, but you're welcome to. We want to give you ample time to say your piece.
I'm going to revise what I was going to say. I have a handout that you have. It's 8 pages. I think you can glance through it. we actually endorse the hiring of a traffic engineer. Our goal is safety. We just need some safety through the intersection. And yeah, we did do our own little study there. After the radar monitors were removed during the study, or after the study, speeding continued to go through it because the monitors immediately at the intersection acted as if there was a stop sign or if there was someone there to write a ticket behind it. So our radar, you can look at the handout, our unofficial analysis shows that there is a considerable amount of speeding, way more than 1% going over 36 miles an hour through the. So we endorse that, and I thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this up, too,
Okay.
and bringing it to the other committees. Okay, so since I think everybody, let's do a show of hands. All in favor? Okay. One, Egon, you're against? So,
I
It
thought
passed.
I thought my speech said that. Thank you.
well, just making sure, giving you your due time. Okay, it passes. All right, where are we now? Let's see. 12B, entertain a motion to request exception for Chicago Club to GRF recreation flyer and poster policy and Performing Arts Center operating rules.
Okay.
Joan, will you read that?
Resolution 90-23-XX. Chicago Club request for exceptions to GRF recreation flyer and poster policy and Performing Arts Center operating rules. Whereas the GRF recreation flyer policy states flyers may not be posted more than 60 days prior to the earliest date on the flyer, multiple dates may not be displayed longer than 30 days following the earliest date. Thereafter, flyers must be resubmitted with revised dates. And whereas the GRF recreation poster policy states Performing Arts Center lobby posters may be displayed a maximum of 3 months prior to the date of the event or date of first event in a series. And whereas the GRF Performing Arts Center operating rules state tickets are available no more than 90 days prior to the scheduled event. And whereas the Chicago Club is requesting an exception to the GRF recreation policy to place event flyers or posters in the clubhouses in December for the 4-event series. And whereas the Chicago Club is requesting an exception to the GRF Performing Arts Center operating rules to sell tickets at the Performing Arts Center for their 2024 series of 4 events earlier than 90 days prior to the scheduled event. And whereas on August 10th, 2023, the Community Activities Committee reviewed the Chicago Club request and recommends the exception for the Chicago Club to GRF recreation flyer and poster policies and exception to the GRF Performing Arts Center operating rules to allow ticket sales earlier than 90 days prior to the scheduled event. Now, therefore, be it resolved, September 5th, 2023, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts the exception for the Chicago Club to GRF recreation flyer and poster policies and exception to the GRF Performing Arts Center operating rules to allow ticket sales earlier than 90 days prior to the scheduled event. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized to carry out this resolution as written. I move we approve this resolution.
Do I hear a second?
Elsie seconds.
Elsie, any discussion?
Any objection?
Juanita?
I support this, but I think it's too limited to just the Chicago Club. We have other events that are series, concerts, et cetera, that are for the whole year. And I think any entertainment event that is a series that goes on for more than just the 90 days should be covered instead of just the Chicago Club.
Yvonne?
They're just asking for an exception. Any club can ask for an exception from CAC and ultimately GRF. It's just a request.
Yeah,
And so that's it.
I think,
Any club can,
right,
Can I-
I think, are you talking about amending the?
you want us to amend the rules?
No,
We can't do that here.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say, that might be something to think about at CAC, but good point. Okay, so any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes. Next is item 12C. Entertain a motion to accept a donation in the amount of $3,000 from Communities Activity Committee for Equestrian Center Mini Horses Care. Our little friend Sebi.
Resolution 90-23-XX, donation of funds for Equestrian Center Mini Horse. This agreement, entered into the 5th day of September 2023, is by and between the Golden Rain Foundation, GRF, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation, and a Laguna Hills resident, the donor, who offered to donate $3,000 for the Laguna Woods Village Equestrian Center to be used for Mini Horse Sebastian's care. Whereas GRF and donor recognize the importance of community facilities and amenities, and whereas GRF and donor acknowledge the benefit of donations when they have a purpose consistent with GRF goals and are in the best interest of Laguna Woods Village, and whereas the donor has offered to donate $3,000 for the Laguna Woods Village Equestrian Center to be used for Mini Horse Sebastian's care, and whereas the Recreation and Special Events Department Director or Financial Services Director reviewed and affirms the proposed donation, that it meets the criteria for acceptance contained in the GRF donation policy. That is, that it meet a true need of the facility, that it does not interfere with the intended current or future use of the facility, and that it does not require the relocation of other equipment or infrastructure to accommodate the donation. Now therefore be it resolved, September 5th, 2023, that GRF and donor, in accordance with the described conditions and obligations hereinafter set forth, and agree as follows. Section 1, the donation known as donation of funds for Equestrian Center Mini Horse, described below, is donated in its entirety to GRF, hereafter owned by GRF and managed on behalf of the residents of Laguna Woods Village by Village Management Services, Inc. Section 2, the donation description are funds for the Equestrian Center Mini Horse. The location is the Equestrian Center. Section 3, the amount of the donation. The item cost is $3,000. Installation cost, $0. Maintenance cost, $0 annually. The total estimated donation is $3,000. Section 4, GRF reserves the right to move or remove and/or retire the donation following cessation of the 5-year period. The term shall commence upon the date entered into and indicated above. Section 5, GRF will not replace the donation or community space improvement if it is stolen, vandalized, worn out, irreparably repaired, destroyed, or expires. Section 6, installation and maintenance. GRF shall be responsible for installation and maintenance of the item, including any reasonable repairs. Section 7, term. The term of this agreement is a minimum of 5 years or beyond if applicable. That is all boilerplate, the last 4 sections. Don't panic. Resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized to carry out this resolution as written. I move that we approve the resolution.
I see a second with Director Horton. Any discussion? I'd like to thank the anonymous donor that also did it last year, in case anybody wants to go back, and thank them again for their generous donation for our little Sebi. He's wonderful. Yes, Martin.
On behalf of Sebastian, I thank him too.
Okay. So, okay. I guess they wanted to stay anonymous this year, so I'll honor that and won't out them here. All right. 12D, entertain a motion to approve the revision to member disciplinary process. We had this is our initial notification.
Vice President Dodson, yes, I don't think we had a vote
Oh, I'm
For the last
sorry.
item.
Any objections to 12C?
I second it.
Was that what you said we didn't have a vote on?
We had a first and a second, but I didn't hear
Oh,
a-
I'm sorry. I thought I said any, I'm sorry. Any objections to 12C, the donation? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you.
Thank
Sorry
you.
about that. Okay, so we have a revision to member disciplinary process, and this is the initial notification, and it will go under 28-day review before we vote on it.
Resolution 90-23-XX, member disciplinary process. Whereas the Board of Directors created a compliance ad hoc committee to work with the Compliance Division and Recreation and Special Events Department to review the member disciplinary process and the schedule of monetary penalty. And whereas the Compliance Ad hoc Committee has recognized the need to update the member disciplinary process to include the schedule of monetary penalties and violations matrix. Now therefore be it resolved on October 3rd, 2023, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby approves the updated member disciplinary process as attached to the official minutes of this meeting. And resolve further that Resolution 90-4-72, adopted October 5th, 2004, is hereby superseded and canceled. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of this corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move that we approve this resolution for discussion purposes and postpone the final vote for 28 days per Civil Code 4360.
Juanita seconds. Any discussion? All right. Any objections to moving this to 28-day review? Hearing none, it moves and passes to 28-day review. Thank you. Okay, 12E, report from finance on fee schedule timeline. I see, nice to see you back, Steve.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. So this is a recommendation from staff that the Board of Directors approve a resolution to approve a fee analysis schedule and establishing a timeline for the review of non-assessment fees and their analysis. With regards to the intent of this file is just to set up some parameters on an ongoing basis. That way everyone has an expectation of what fees will be coming down the pipe. On the supporting schedule, agenda item 12E, page 3 of 6, there is a schedule of those fees, and they're being broken down into 3 categories: annual, biannual, and triannual, with on the right-hand side the initial year of review, followed by the subsequent review. And then, therefore, if it's a biannual, it'll be every 2 years, so on and so forth. So the intent of this, once again, is to provide a consistent schedule. That way, the individuals that are going to be affected by any potential changes will be aware that they're coming down the pipe, and there will be no surprises in the future. Thank you.
Okay. Joan is going to read it.
Resolution 90-23-XX, GRF fee analysis schedule. Whereas the Finance Committee recommends establishing a timeline for the review of non-assessment fee analyses in an effort to complete an expenses analysis in a planned manner and bring supporting fee recommendations. And now therefore be it resolved on September 5th, 2023, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby approves the fee analysis schedule as presented. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized to carry out this resolution as written. I move that we approve this resolution.
Do I hear a second?
Elsie.
Elsie? Any discussion? Yes, Jim?
One of the things, I'm just reviewing the schedule itself, and what is the basis of annual, biannual, and triannual?
Is the mic on?
It's a combination of the costs associated with the activities as well as their associated fees. So based upon the fees themselves, right? So such as for a late fee, we chose the recommendation perspective to review every 3 years. It's a low fee in terms of its total, so to review it every year didn't quite make sense. Moving up the line to biannual, likewise, RFID fees, the next time we would recommend it come up for review is in 2025, and then every 2 years thereafter.
So the basis is basically income generated?
A combination of the cost associated with the activity as well as the fee.
And I'm looking at certain things, for instance, I mean, it's a small number, but it could get a lot larger. It says EV charging.
Right.
EV charging is obviously based on electric rates, and electric rates we know are not going to go down, they're going to go up every year. So for 3 years, we would be suffering a loss on those things, especially those areas where we're basically breaking even with our partners and employees, right? So would there be a better way to, or an additional way to evaluate annual, biannual, and triannual?
A better way, I mean, there could be different ways. What I'm trying to do is set up a timeline for everything to come up for review. Arguably, we'll be faced with every single one of those, right? Everything that has a cost will presumably go up on an annual basis. The likelihood of getting 100% of all the fees reviewed in the next year is unlikely. So we propose the schedule in front of you. We can make changes if that's the recommendation of the board.
All right. Because, go ahead, I don't wait for my question. Go ahead.
Okay, we passed a resolution on the EV charging fees, and in that resolution, it says it will be reviewed
Right.
next year,
Yes.
September 2024. So it's not 3 years if the resolution changes that. So I think perhaps in the fee schedule that we should move that up to annual.
Yeah, well, wait, before she makes an amendment, because I might want to too. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this, and I appreciate that we have this down on paper finally. But I am looking at the triannual things, and there's a couple things there that to me should be either in the first time we're going to look at is 2026. I think that's way too far out. You know, I'm glad to see traffic violations, but is biannual. But I think that some of these, maybe they need to be reorganized before we say yes. I appreciate they're all here, but maybe the importance of them and what we feel is important. So Juanita's going to make, or Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, the way I'm looking at it is I see several items that are subject to immediate increases. For instance, I know there are certain things that are pass-throughs, right? And so we don't look at those, for instance, in equestrian, we're looking at those every 2 years. So I just think there may be a little bit of more
Massaging.
Thank you. Massaging of the schedule. I'm glad there's a schedule. Okay, I think that helps. And it's just like we should treat this just like the financial planning or the budget. It's a regular thing. But I just think a little bit of massaging of the items that go in there. And I don't know the answer because I don't know all the details to the cost.
Elsie.
First of all, it's not like a lot of this stuff is going to be looked at for the first time in 26. I mean, most of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the top list and 3 more on the second list are going to be looked at in 2024, number one. And then that's going to bump it forward, as I understand it, right?
Right.
And then the other thing is, I think we have this down, and if it turns out, this has to be, you have to start somewhere, right? And then if there are, if things emerge during these various reviews that say, oh gosh, we really better do it, or even without during the review, like say the EV charging, say something really ballistic happens with, we can always bring it back to this board for amendment. And I would recommend we get started with this because it's taken so long and I don't want to send it back. And so we have this, but it doesn't mean it's cast in stone. So that's my observation. I would recommend approving this and then amending it if necessary as problems emerge. That's my comment.
Joan?
So you would not amend it now? Contrary to what others are suggesting. If you send it back to the committee and finance for the next time with amendments, is that a better possibility?
May I, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Please do.
All respect. If we do that, trust me, when it comes back here again, there's going to be another thing we have to send it back for. That's just the nature of the beast, as I see it. It's,
okay.
Well, and with some experience under my belt, right?
No.
I don't need to give examples to you. And I just think that there's nothing evil in here. There's nothing illicit. There's nothing non-transparent. In other words, it's a document. And I think it's a starting point. That's what I would recommend, yes, is to accept this one. Because once we change one, then well, wait a minute, I want to change this other one. And wait a minute, for one thing, we won't get to lunch. And for another thing, if we send it back, it's just going to keep coming back.
I have another thought. One more thought. So if we send it out as is right now, but if something comes up, then's the time to, if necessary, change it, give the staff the opportunity to change it. If you, after 1 year, you've reviewed the parking fees and you see, there's a big change, instead of waiting for 3 years for the review, you'd actually have to do it then,
Right.
and then present the change. So I go along with you to just approve what's here, and then as the worst may come up, allow staff to bring it up again if necessary. Does that sound reasonable?
It does, but I have a question.
Well, Juanita
Are we
doesn't.
allowed to change the, right now, before, as a Scribner's, to put the EV charging up into the annual section?
Since we already have a resolution to that effect.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Let's make our initial change right now and then vote it.
Yeah.
And then we can come back to Elsie and Joan's point.
As a Scrivener, kind of, to make it correspond with that's not bad thinking.
Instead of an amendment.
Right.
We want it just a Scrivener.
We have to vote still as an amendment.
Yeah, and then go ahead and proceed with it.
So I make a motion that we amend the motion to move the EV charging up into the annual to match the previous resolution.
Second.
Okay. So do we have to vote on the first motion or just my amendment?
Vote on the amendment.
Okay. Any objections to my amendment? Hearing none?
Any objections to the whole thing?
Any objections to the whole thing? No? It passes with the EV. Okay. Yay. Okay. Now, I know that number 13 is still far away. The next item might take longer. So I am going to take and ask if anybody would like to break now before we do 13F and 13G. Yes. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and we will return at 10:52 and tackle 12F and beyond. righty. Here we go. We're back. All right. 12F, the 2024 business plan. Entertain a motion to approve the 2024 GRF business plan and entertain a motion to approve the 2024 GRF reserves funding plan.
Okay.
Joan, will you read it?
Yeah, Resolution 90-23-XX, 2024 Business Plan Resolution. Resolved September 5th, 2023, that the business plan of this corporation for the year 2024 is hereby adopted and approved. And resolved further that pursuant to said business plan, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby estimates that the sum of $44,369,131 will be required by the corporation to meet its annual expenses of operation for the year 2024. Additionally, $2,598,144 is planned for reserve contributions and contingency fund contributions, and contingency fund contributions have been eliminated. After deducting $764,160 derived from prior year's surplus, and the sum of $11,323,794 expected to be received from various sources as revenue during 2024, the Board of Directors hereby estimates that the net sum of $34,879,321 will be required to be paid by the corporation members in accordance with the terms of that certain trust agreement dated March 2nd, 1964, as amended, and the bylaws of this corporation. And resolve further that this corporation shall charge each member the sum of $228.22 per month per membership of said corporation for its share of the aforesaid net expenses and reserve contributions for the year 2024. And resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move that we approve this resolution.
Second.
Juanita seconds. Discussion? Yes, Juanita.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the MS finance staff, Steve, Jose. This has been an arduous undertaking, and they have done a wonderful job. And particularly, I like the resolution where it calls out specifically what was derived from prior years' surplus. That's always a question. And received from various sources of revenue. Breaking it down like that hopefully will get the message out to all of our members that we do that in accordance with our rules. So great job, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Jim?
You know, just to add to that comment, also this year, as the statements go out to the residents, it will show the surplus that has been given back in this year as well as moving forward. So again, thank you, finance staff. Great job.
All right, I agree. I mean, I think that the amount of time, effort, and months, this has gone over a month's process and several iterations, and not one person in this room takes this responsibility lightly. We all live here, and you know, we're doing the best we can, and we just appreciate that we have this opportunity. So that's it. So all in favor? All right. Motion passes. Both motions pass. No, we didn't do the second one yet? Okay, the first motion passes. Now we'll do the second one.
Resolution 90-23-XX, 2024 Reserves Funding Plan Resolution. Whereas Civil Code 5570 requires specific reserve funding disclosure statements for associations, and whereas planned assessments or other contributions to replacement reserves must be projected to ensure balances will be sufficient at the end of each year to meet the association's obligations for repair and/or replacement of major components during the next 30 years. Now therefore be it resolved, September 5th, 2023, that pursuant to Civil Code 5570, the board hereby adopts the 30-year reserve funding plans attached, prepared by Association Reserves for fiscal year 2024, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move that we approve this resolution.
Do I get a second?
Elsie.
All right, any discussion, questions? Wow.
Any objections?
Any objections? All right.
Hearing none.
Hearing none. That's motion F, the second motion in F. Now we're on G. That approved, got approved. So now we're at 12G. Entertain a motion to approve the 2024 capital plan.
Resolution, oops, do it that way. Resolution 90-23XX, 2024 Capital Plan Resolution. Resolved September 5th, 2023, that the Capital Reserve Expenditures Plan of this corporation for the year 2024 is hereby adopted and approved, and resolved further that pursuant to said business plan, the sum of $14,794,900 is hereby authorized to be expended in 2024 for the purposes provided therein, of which $2,877,200 is designated from the equipment fund and $11,917,700 from the facilities fund. And resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move that we approve this resolution.
Elsie seconds. Any questions, objective? Okay, Jim?
Yeah, just one. I prefer the terminology, rather than authorized, allocated. I think
I'm sorry, what are you talking about?
These, for the capital plan, these amounts are allocated.
Good point.
Allocated, right?
Great point, Jim.
And where should that be?
They're not approved for spending. That's a separate process for most of it.
Under resolved further, or under resolved, say hereby resolved to be, instead of saying expended, should say allocated?
Allocated to,
Yeah.
Allocated in 2024.
And even authorized, I think, could be changed to allocated, don't you think?
you can say authorized allocations.
Authorized allocation sound very
Where's
good.
that?
But not the expended.
Where
Yeah.
would you put that, Jim?
Let's see where that.
Hereby authorized.
Yeah, authorized to be allocated. Good point. Martin.
I don't know what you said. Say it.
Here adopted and approved.
Read the paragraph.
The pursuant is it says authorized to be expended. Hereby,
I said authorized to be allocated.
Allocation.
yeah,
Instead of
allocate.
Would that be all right? So it should read, for the second line there, authorized to be allocated in 2024.
Yeah.
All right?
Yep.
All right. So that's just technicality. All right. Are there any other corrections or
Yes.
additions?
That comes out really good. Allocated for the purposes provided herein, which,
Yes.
I
For
think
for the
that,
purposes provided therein. Uh-huh.
yeah, that worked.
Okay. So just change that one word. Vote.
Oh, vote, sorry. All right, let's have a vote. All in favor? Any objections?
Wait, is this as corrected? Or
As
is that a
corrected.
Scrivener? Just as corrected?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so as The motion as corrected, do we hear any objections? Hearing none, the motion as corrected passes.
May I ask who seconded it? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Elsie.
Elsie originally seconded it.
I knew she did the first one.
Right. Okay. Well, that went fast. Okay, we don't need to take the break because we did that. All right. Committee reports. Thank you, gentlemen. Good job. All right, so our first committee report is our favorite and longest, the report of the Finance Committee and the financial reports. Jim, take it away.
Can you all hear me?
Nope. Move it up.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. This first slide, this first chart includes all revenues and expenses, including non-operating items designated for reserves, and that includes investment income, transfer facilities fees, and GRF reserve portion of the HOA fees. It also includes the contingency portion of the HOA fees, of which this year there's none. Okay. Through the reporting period ending July 31st, 2023, GRF had a net revenue of $2,644,000 with a total revenue of $30,731,000 and a total expense of $28,087,000. GRF was better than budget by $1,191,000 with the total revenues coming in at $1,283,000 better than anticipated due to the unrealized gain on investments. This was partially offset by expenses being worse than budget by about $92,000, and that's due to the sale of poor-performing investments, which caused a realized loss on the expense side of the financial statements. Next chart, please. Now, this next chart displays the operating fund, which excludes the aforementioned non-operating revenues and expenses, and depreciation, which is a non-cash item not impacting your HOA fees. This report shows a favorable variance of $982,000 through the reporting period, with expenses better than budget by $1,368,000. And that's offset by revenue, which is worse than budget, by $386,000. Slide 3, please. Now, this slide reflects the current market value as of July 31st of the GRF's reserves discretionary investment portfolio. It also displays the original market value at the time of inception when we started this process. The current market value of the GRF portfolio is $18,843,000, and that's compared to a value at inception of $19,031,000. The year-to-date market value increased by $634,000, or 3.5%, and has decreased by $188,000, or about 1% since the inception of 2019. In July, the market value increased by $73,000. Next chart, please. This is our reserve adjustment balance, and of the $18,843,000 portfolio mentioned before in slide 3, about $18,594,000 is held with our reserve portfolio value. In addition to discretionary investments, the reserve fund assets also include non-discretionary investments of $10,184,000. And when you add payables and other, the net reserve balance is $32,347,000. Next chart. Now back to the operating fund, which has a more significant impact on the HOA assessment. This slide shows that our most significant operating variances are with green bars, and the those representing favorable, I'm sorry, the slide start all over again. The slide shows our most significant operating variances by category, with the green bars representing favorable variances and the orange bars representing unfavorable variances. Overall favorable, the employee compensation is $1,185,000 favorable, and that's due to vacancies for janitorial positions, for security patrol officers and gate ambassadors, and various other positions throughout the organization. Recruitment, as usual, is a continuous process for all open positions. Materials and supplies are the next most favorable variance, and that's primarily due to the overestimated expenses for inventory items at the warehouse and maintenance material, which have not yet required replacement. We call that timing in the accounting world, but that's essentially what has happened. The favorable variance is partially offset by unbudgeted pool chemical supplies. The other operating expenses are favorable by $204,000, and that's really based on the timing of the expenses of staff support, safety, and recruiting fees, and some other items. In other words, these expenses are going to occur later than planned. And unfavorable, some offsetting unfavorable variances are included, and that the net allocation to the mutuals is down by $254,000. And what that really says is when GRF runs a favorable variance, which we are doing, then the allocated expenses to the mutuals are also less than budgeted. Broadband services are unfavorable due to lower advertising revenue in the media services as clients are moving their advertising dollars to digital platforms, aka streaming. Also down is the revenue in the golf facilities, and that's due to driving range being closed for renovation from March to October. This closure is also resulting in lower golf lesson fees, as the majority of the lessons that take place on the driving range. Slide 6, please. Okay. This slide shows that our sources of revenue, other than assessments such as fees and rentals. To date, we have received just over $5,633,000 of non-assessment operating revenue. By category, we can see that our largest revenue is broadband services, and that's followed by golf revenue and clubhouse rentals and event fees, and then followed by merchandise sales. Other revenue, which includes class fees, additional occupancy fees, RV storage, equestrian center fees, and others amount to about 14%. Slide 7, please. Now, this chart shows, as usual, that our largest operating expense is compensation, and that's followed by cable programming fees, expenses. Of the $23.7 million, excluding depreciation, these two categories account for 71% of the operating expense. Insurance, professional fees, legal, utilities, outside services make up the remaining 29%. If you consider that cable and programming are offset by broadband revenue, compensation accounts for 67% of the net expense, while insurance, utilities, and outside services account for 33%. In other words, this is a service industry. 67% of our cost are from compensation. And just a side note on that, if you look at the last 8 years, the minimum wage in California has doubled. Not only has it doubled, but in 2021 or 2022, the minimum wage also, the law now ties the lowest exempt salary to minimum wage, which means as minimum wage goes up, so does the exempt salary. So when exempt salaries go up, and I'm not privy to what goes on with salary-wise, but when exempt salaries go up, that means managerial salaries go up, because you don't want your manager managing someone that makes more money than you do. So a lot of the pressure or challenge in personnel has to do with the law that's been established in California. It's just, and there are other companies that are having the same issue, to be honest with you. Okay, where was I? Okay, slide number 8, please. Now, starting with the first column on the left, the reserve funds have a combined ending balance of $39.4 million. The contingency fund balance is $4 million. The second column shows a work in process of about $7 million for the reserve and approximately $141,000 for the contingency fund. And that reflects amounts paid for projects, but the projects are not yet completed. The third column represents the resulting adjusted fund balances of $32.3 million for the reserve and $3.9 million for the contingency fund. We do expect the contingency fund to be adjusted downward by the end of the year because it also contains the prior year's surplus, which was temporarily moved to the contingency fund for visibility. Okay, slide 9, please. Here we have a slide that shows the resale history from 2021 to 2023. Community-wide sales total 421 through July 31st, 2023. This is 144 or 25% below 2021 and 175 or 29% below 2022. As you know, most of these transactions generate the trust facilities fee, which is used as a major source of revenue for our reserves. While our current reserve balances are currently in good condition, we must continue to monitor this downward trend in manor sales in light of the forecasted reserve expenditures. Slide 10, please. This listing on this slide gives you an idea of where the reserve money is committed. Of the $20.3 million appropriated by the board for various projects and equipment purchases, the remaining encumbrances on the reserves is $12.7 million, primarily for the purchase and replacement of equipment throughout the facilities. Slide 11, please. When we compare our adjusted fund balances to historical balances for the past 5 years, it shows that GRF has averaged $27 million in reserve funds and $2.3 million in contingency funds. The current GRF reserve is $32 million. We should keep in mind that unlike the smooth and regular spending patterns of reserve funds for housing mutuals, the reserve fund, GRF reserve fund, is subject to periodic large investments in terms of, as it manages its $150 million asset profile. And hopefully this will be one of the last times I'll present this chart. I do plan on presenting it throughout to the end of the year. But as you know, we've had some challenges with our GRF portfolio. And so I just wanted to report to everybody that our portfolio is doing well and well on its way to getting back to the original balance after suffering in 2021 and 2022 some surprises in terms of the historical rise in the interest rates. As you may recall, back in October, we were encouraged to sell our portfolio. And we took that seriously, but we wanted to do that in a more planned and organized way. So what we did was we gave our advisor, Sageview, we gave him permission when our bond funds reached their optimum for that particular fund to sell and move into treasuries. We're in all treasuries now. And since that October period, we have gained $1,145,000 in our portfolio. And I'm happy to say that it is estimated by October, and we actually have this date, October 12th, 2023, we'll be back to parity with our original balance. And from then on, we'll probably be moving at about 5% annually per year. It's been a challenge, but I think we made the right move. We accelerated our comeback by not selling in October. The other thing is, I've got a couple of emails and actually a couple of phone calls asking me if we had really lost $2 million in our portfolio this year. And so somewhere it's been reported that we lost $2 million. And the absolute answer is no. This year so far we have gained $716,000. And since that, I'll call it the dark October, we've gained $1,145,000. And which really says that from October to October, we will have gained $1,250,000 in 1 year on our portfolio. So I think we've gotten through the bad part, and now it's all good. And thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions for Jim? Yes, Juanita.
Jim, going back to slide number 9 on the resales, the little chart at the top, it says year to date, so that's just through July of 21 and July of 22?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Because
We've still got 5 months to go, and I think we're gonna.
Right.
And as of Sunday, there was 104 manors for sale in the entire village, which is incredibly low, about half in co-op and about half in condos. Egon?
On the last slide you showed, Jim, under value, that value includes accrued interest, is that right?
Yeah, it includes everything. We don't take we reinvest the interest. So that's the balance of the portfolio.
All right. Okay. Report of the Community Activities Committee, Director Horton.
Thank you, First Vice President. Okay, what did I have to say? And I lost my notes. At the last CAC meeting, we discussed the operating rules for Clubhouse 4. They were approved, excluding the Scribners that will be corrected before it goes to GRF for final approval. This coming month, CAC meeting, we'll be discussing the operating rules for tennis, pickleball, and alike. And if you have any interest, you should be at the meeting. Also, I'd like to say thank you to the Garden Club for their sponsorship of the farmers market and all the money that they raised and gave to Meals on Wheels. I'm certainly that everybody appreciates that. And that concludes my update.
Thank you very much. We now have the report of the Landscape Committee, Director Skillman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We met on August 22nd, and I'm sorry to say we did not have a full committee member there. We did have a quorum, but we had nobody there from 3rd. We did have a special speaker, Dennis Cafferty from El Toro Water District, gave us an update on the increase in water prices, because as a board we see the water prices have gone up and we put it in our budget, et cetera, but it really isn't defined for us why it went up and what the different parts of not just water and potable and reclaimed and our sewage fees, all of which went up. And he did a great job. We had a slideshow that showed exactly the amounts that it went up and why and how it made that finished amount that we have to put in our budget. So it was really nice to be able to see where our money is going. That was about it. That was the big thing. We had a couple of updates on Aliso Creek and the mower workshop. installation that we're doing. And our department head also talked about the, I'm sorry, new sprinkler
Oh, yeah, I was
system
gonna
that's
ask.
going in, and gave us updates on that. So our next meeting will be Wednesday, November 8th, and everybody is invited.
All right, that sounds wonderful. And Yvonne has a question?
I'd like to add that the gentleman that came from the water department, he was very informative. However, not unlike us, they have an aging infrastructure, and that's where a lot of the costs are going up. I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you for adding that. And also, even though we've seen a lot of rain and we had a tropical storm, we're not really still in a kind of a drought. So we all still need to be very cognizant of our use of our water, especially if you live in a manner where you have the ability to go out with a hose. Because I still see people wasting a lot of water. And, this was a good year, but next year might not be. So everybody save water. All right.
I might also mention that we have no groundwater here.
Right.
In our area. And so even though it rains, et cetera, there's really no place for it to go. We have the one reservoir, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it seems like you see the water, but it doesn't mean there is. All right, so the report of the MNC Maintenance and Construction is going to be delivered by Gan in the absence of Reza, so thank you.
The committee meeting held on August 9, 2023. The next meeting will be October 11, 2023. And regarding the details of the clubhouse renovation will be discussed by ad hoc committee chair, Mr. Garthovner.
Okay.
Thank you. That's my comment.
Okay, and now we'll go to that report then. The report of the Clubhouse Renovation Ad Hoc Committee.
Yeah, there's been no meeting since the March 6th meeting. What we're still waiting on is final bids on, so that we can discuss those, and we'll schedule a meeting when we get the bids.
Okay. So work in progress.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so Director Millman, will you discuss your report of the Media and Communications Committee?
Right. The Media and Communications Committee did not meet in August. Our next meeting will be September 18th, 2023 at 1:30 here in the boardroom and as a virtual meeting. The website ad hoc committee met on May 22nd, and our next meeting is to be arranged. The broadband ad hoc committee met August 21st, at which meeting we really approved minutes from all the past meetings up to that time and had a report on the current progress of the consultant. The meeting for August 29th was canceled. Our next meetings will be September 18th at 3 after the committee meeting at 3:30, and then at September 26th from 10 to 2 in the Sycamore Room as scheduled. And that's the end of my report.
All right, thank you. And then we have the report of the Mobility and Vehicles Committee, Director Addington.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The meeting was held on August the 2nd, 2023, and there were a lot of it's always interesting to transportation heads to hear ridership reports and fleet reports, et cetera. But for normal people, I'm sorry, there was one more thing for transportation heads, and that was the staff director's report. Robert Carroll talked about which now is in the past, it used to be the brand new Laguna Woods Village Fares and Piers Short-Range Transit Plan study that was done in 2019. And a lot of people seem to think, well, they don't know. They're new to the village, or they didn't know in the first place. So Mr. Carroll reviewed that. And that they had come in and looked at our transportation system and tweaked it, and that's when Chris Langenauer, takes me a second. That's when he was in charge. And anyway, it was interesting to hear that again. But finally, here's the most important stuff. Because of some recent, I'll call it legislation that was passed recently here in the village, relative to the, it's not really a contract, but the journey, now I just got one completely blank. What else is
The
new?
outside program?
Yeah,
Or not our input?
Yeah, it's the outside program that does the fleet negotiations for our
Edgewell.
vehicle purchase.
Oh, no, that's the new fleet contract. that we
Journey
got.
something? No. Travel well? No.
No.
It's something well. Yes, it is. It's something well.
Agewell?
Not age well. No. Anyway, whatever it is. Sorry about
The
that.
purchasing
It's a
vehicle that we
purchasing-
approved a while back.
Yeah, it's a purchasing vehicle. And due to that, the need to have monthly meetings, it was considered that maybe we didn't have to have it monthly, and that was approved. So the next committee meeting for mobility and vehicle, instead of being in October, will be in November, November the 1st, 2023. And because of that, I'm sorry, Journeywell? I can't not
It's
remember.
something like that, but
Yes.
I don't remember either.
I don't either, but it was really important, and it was really helpful, and it's going to streamline things to the point that we cannot have monthly meetings. And of course, we can always revisit that and change it. Then the other thing that was changed was the transportation information meeting schedule. They've been having little community meetings off and on for years, and attendance and over in Clubhouse 1, and people from staff attend to answer any questions. And people that go regularly love it, but they're getting to be fewer and fewer. So the transportation information meetings have been changed from bi-monthly to semi-annual, and with the exact dates to be determined by the staff. So that was it for that meeting. So the transportation information meeting is going to semi-annual, and we haven't got a date yet. And the mobility and vehicle committee is gone to bi-monthly instead of monthly. Phew.
Okay. and
Thank
I-
you.
I went back to your minutes, and it just says, it doesn't have any of that information either, so.
Wait, where are you talking about?
I went back to the very.
Oh, you mean about the?
I looked
yeah.
in your minutes and don't see it,
No,
but it does talk about the short-range transit plan, and I do have a question.
Oh, yeah, yeah, okay.
Since that was done in 2019, and a lot has changed since 2019, do they have any target of when they might do it? Are they on like a 5-year, or just as needed to
The
look
next
at
time we
this?
want to spend $50,000?
Yeah, I don't want to spend 50,000, I'm curious.
But, no, well, it was 40,000, I think, the last
Okay.
time. Well, I'm not supposed to mention numbers, sorry about that. No, I don't think so, because by the feedback we're getting, the scheduling's working fine for the people that use it, and ridership's going up.
Okay.
So, he is looking constantly at, like, we bought some smaller buses, so they aren't all electric, but they're a lot lower on gas, and they're just smaller generally. They're just less expensive generally to operate. So, but as far as the routing is concerned, they did close one route because it didn't have enough ridership. So it's kind of an ongoing. But as far as like talking about the half hour and the hub system, because I don't think there's any plans to change that.
No,
That's
I just know that I wanted to just highlight that we do consider this on a regular basis.
Absolutely,
And making sure that
absolutely.
we're providing the highest quality service and doing it effectively and efficiently. And
Good
also,
point.
I see the thing on, on Channel 3 on about the Laguna Woods thing, that the city has some kind of a rider program too.
Oh, the city does, and so does the county.
Right.
You'll see their buses a lot, and it's for different things. It's for straight transportation, and some of it's for, like
Medical.
AgeWell does a lot of medical stuff. And then we have, but the medical route is one of our bigger, and there's certain qualifications for the other ones.
Right, and
Whereas-
you do have to sign up in advance and all of that, whereas ours is,
Just goes every half hour.
Right, go to the bus stop and get the bus. All right. Report of the Security and Community Access Committee, Director Skillman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We met on August 23rd, and at our meeting, we welcomed Captain Alday and Sergeant Wilder from the OC Sheriff's Department. They're the ones that are assigned to our area through the city. The city pays the sheriff times bills, and they are the largest bill that the city has to pay. So they work very closely with our security department, and they just talked about how they interact, and we got to meet both of them, and it was just an excellent report. Now, under member comments, we, of course, they're still talking about the flashing stop signs, and we reiterated that that was a pilot program. It is not finished, and that we will be issuing more detailed reports as we get towards the end of the year when the pilot program is over. Director Rosa suggested that we might want to look into hooding some of the stop signs that were bothering residents that were there. They asked about our e-bike patrol, and quite frankly, our e-bike patrol is not functioning at this time because we don't have staff. Our security department is grossly understaffed, with people working double time and overtime and whatever, and we do not have the manpower to do the bicycle program at this time. We still have the bikes, and we hope to be able to get back to that. And we do know that for those that live in more or less accessible to the main drags areas, that they're not always seen by the drive-by patrols, so we would like to do that. Chief Nunes reinforced that we really need, we say it all the time, see something, say something. We had 2 or 3 people who mentioned incidents in their committee reports, but they had not reported them to security. So if you know of something, or you have a problem, or you think there's a problem, you need to call security. We went over the security statistics, and we had just a couple of noteworthy incidents, and one of them was a missing person from not our complex, but Sebastian, which is right in the back of the library in Clubhouse 1. And they had a missing person that our security helped find. And we also had one, and this was disturbing, welfare report, because security will do a welfare report. If you have a neighbor or a resident that you think you haven't seen for a while, if there's a problem, whatever, they will do a welfare check. And they did a welfare check in July and found the resident on the floor. And they had been there for a few days. They were alive. They did get them to the hospital, but it's terrible for those of us, particularly those who live alone, to think that somebody could fall or be ill and not known for 2 or 3 days. So we do try to watch out for each other. And if you have a question on some of them, please report it to security. They can do a welfare check. We gave kudos to the landscape department, yay, for the awesome job cleaning out the storm drains prior to the big storm that we had. We had only minimal, we had a bunch of branches down, we had a couple of trees go down, but no fatalities or they didn't go down on people. One was the parked car and one hit a roof. So the big topic was golf cars and golf carts and traffic, tracking them. Because the way the rules are, and they are different for Third, they're different for United, we don't have a one-size-fits-all rule on them, that they have to be registered. If they are going to plug in to the electricity in each of the mutuals, they're supposed to pay a fee and register. But we do know that we do have people who don't do that, and they just plug in. So we're looking at ways that we might find a better tracking system for those, and that's coming up in our future agenda. And our next meeting will be October 25th at 1:30 p.m.
Thank you. And before we go to traffic, I want to add, if you live alone, you should have some type of a wearable device. A life alert, and if you don't want to wear a life alert, an Apple iWatch, a Garmin, there's a lot of different things out there that will communicate an emergency signal in the event you fall and can't get to a phone. Anybody who lives in this community should have one if you're alone.
Well, not just living alone. If
Not
you
just
live
living
with
alone.
somebody else and they might be ill, you're taking care of them. They can't take care of you if you fall, so.
Right, so this is a very important thing, and I can't, and also to put a key on file here with Resident Services, the two things. Joan?
I just want to say, Juanita, in the past, the electric vehicles like golf carts had to have a special decal saying they could plug in.
We're not doing decals anymore.
I know, I'm just, what?
Well, that's what we're looking at. And as I say,
Right.
there are different rules in both Third and United.
Yeah.
So this GRF overall committee is looking as how we might be able to standardize that.
Maybe,
and make
maybe
it
some kind of a flash gun RFID.
something
who
that
knows,
would help.
but,
Okay,
yeah.
and I'm going
just-
to bring that up too.
As your remark, I would just encourage everybody, if you go into social services in this building right down there, they can help you with all of the Med Alert devices. They have lists of what kinds there are, how to get them, what the costs are, all of those kinds of things. So you're not at the mercy of just a vendor.
Right, and also I talked about some on the show too. All right, Elsie.
Following up on what you're saying and what you're saying, and I indicated Debbie and Juanita, if you're not going to think about yourself in terms of getting the I've fallen and I can't get up thing or the iWatch, think about your children or other responsible people that are, have to answer for you. Because my mom got stuck in the tub, when she fell. And she was okay, but she was stuck in the tub for 2 days with no clothes on, thank you very much. It was very embarrassing for her. Anyway, the point is, by the time, and everything was fine, they were gonna come after my brother and me for elder abuse. It's like, whoa. And my brother lives in Santa Monica, and I lived in Orange County, and we saw her regularly, but not every day, and if she didn't answer the phone, we didn't call the cops. It was like 2 days, which sounds like a long time if you were in the tub, but it's not a long time if you're a responsible family member. So we almost got in serious trouble, and my brother's an attorney, so it would have looked really bad on his record, and I work for the government. So think about them, and if that encourages you at all to get one of those things.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Even because everybody thinks, oh, it's not going to happen to me. You don't know that. All right, well, now my favorite time, report of the traffic hearings.
Well, let's hope I do this one a little bit better than the last one. Sorry about that. The village has a traffic committee that's composed of one representative from each of the mutuals, including GRF United, Third, and the Towers. And this one was held on August the 16th, 2023. There were four drivers, people driving cars, but among the four of them, they had 6 offenses. And of the 4, 1 was a no-show and 3 actually attended. The violations consisted of 3 speeding, three speeding over 35 miles an hour, over 36 miles an hour, sorry, 2 license violations, and 1 failure to stop at a stop sign. All of these particular people were found guilty, but there was 1 reduced fine. And the next meeting will be, but you can't come because it's closed for confidentiality purposes, but it will be September the 20th, 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. And back to Director Skillman for the Compliance Ad Hoc Committee.
Okay, Compliance Ad Hoc Committee met on Friday, August 11th, here in the boardroom. And the main thing was the disciplinary process, which we voted on today, which was brought forward to the board. But we also are considering, in our future agenda item is the additional occupancy fee. And this has become a concern for the mutuals as well as GRF because of the new state law that allows people to rent rooms from their units. They don't just sublet their whole unit, they can rent out a bedroom, etc. So that means we may have more additional occupants, more use for GRF on our facilities. How are we going to do that? So that's going to be talked about at our next meeting. Okay. And our next meeting is to be determined. We don't have a regular schedule.
All right. Okay, back to Director Addington for Executive Members Hearing Committee.
Well,
I can't really say
that's all confidential.
Why is this on the
And
list?
I can't say a word about it, but
You had
if
one.
I had to.
How many people?
I would say that, wait a minute, I've kind of got a complaint about some of these committees that say they're going to be virtual meetings, and then there's no link at all given on the website, and that includes like broadband, ITAC. We can't even come in and take a look.
They're not
And it
open.
shouldn't say virtual meeting,
Right.
right? I mean, I don't care.
Yeah.
I said my piece. I don't care. It's okay. The traffic hearings. Wait, executive. Okay, here we go. That was held. The executive hearings were held on August the 3rd, and the next meeting September the 2nd at 9 a.m. in the Willow Room. Although that's even a secret location. And if I tell you any more, I'll have to kill you. So we're on it. And there was one case discussed at the last one.
One case, okay. All right, well, maybe that's for future meetings that you just come in and say there were X number of cases and that's it.
Well, that's what I did,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah,
You mean
'cause you
without
said
all the
you-
confidentiality jokes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, not without the jokes, but just that because of confidentiality, obviously, we can't. There are things, and
Isn't
there
that what
are
I said?
meetings that have confidential information that can be held virtual for the members of the committee, but not to the open
Oh,
public.
you're getting back to those other meetings. No, I'm just talking about this meeting. It just reminded me, and I keep meaning to bring it up, that there's no, but if it's on purpose, then that's fine. So.
Okay. You're
Yeah,
done?
but aside from that, you got it about the confidentiality on my report, right?
Yeah.
It's confidential, thank you.
Okay. Director Skillman again with the Disaster Preparedness Task Force, and you had to put your stuff to use, huh?
Okay. The Disaster Preparedness Task Force met on Tuesday, July 25th. Couple of things. First of all, we also had the Sheriff's Department there, and they were telling us about the operation structure for the whole of Orange County and the unified command that goes into effect when there is a disaster of any kind. Grace Stencil is the clubhouse coordinator for Clubhouse 3, and she has done a fantastic job. She has 15 volunteers who work with her for Clubhouse 3. With all kinds of different jobs, and they have monthly meetings, they know what they're doing, etc. As a clubhouse coordinator myself, who doesn't do all of that, I have to say she does an absolute marvelous job. Now, the big thing is we have moved with disaster preparedness from a system where we're encouraging people to go to their nearest clubhouse, and we have them set up with all kinds of different functions there, to a shelter in place. It just didn't make sense for us to have people on the road trying to get to a clubhouse in case of a disaster. We need more building monitors so that they can get information if there's something happening in their area, either their cul-de-sac or their building. But expecting people to move to a clubhouse really is not well. So we're working on the shelter in place and how we can do that. And Ed Green, who was the disaster coordinator, retired as of the end of July. And we also lost our office manager, Tom Soleil, both of whom retired. So we're looking at new people to replace those. And our next meeting is September 26th, 2023.
I know that you've probably done this, but have we been on Village Television recruiting or talking about disaster preparedness recently?
Within the last year, yeah. I know Ed Green went on and had 2 presentations that he went on. And he also spoke at a number of clubs.
Okay.
So that's been our outreach, was 2 clubs.
Okay. Joan?
Anita, are they talking anything about the radio antenna?
Yes, we have antennas. We have bought them. They're going up onto clubhouses for the radio communication, and we work very closely with the club, the radio club. We have drills every month.
But as opposed to the big antenna, which has not been good.
Yeah, no,
They're doing it differently now.
Yeah, they're putting them up on the various clubhouses.
Good, I'm glad to hear. Thank you.
Okay, and now we're back to Director Hopkins for the Information Technology Advisory Committee report, also known as ITAC.
Thank you. We met on August 25th, and during that meeting, we looked at where we were on the schedule. Just so you know, the whole idea is to go in phases. The first phase that we have really deals with finance, accounting, property management, warehouse, banking, those types of activities, and so there's a considerable amount of testing that's necessary. And in doing the testing process, we really didn't have some of the resource we needed for some of the testing. That is some of the staff are otherwise occupied. So we fell a little bit behind on that. We did catch up, but then we found that there was some complexities in the budgeting that specifically with the allocations, because there's a series, as you can imagine, you're dealing with 5 entities. The allocations going across those 5 entities are significant. And so that we were trying to automate that process. We will eventually, but we decided not to try to automate entirely that process, but to move on to the next phase of the first phase, as to not to waste time. We are slightly behind in the development. We were looking to go live. We are still looking to go live in January or February of 2024. And keep in mind, that's go live for the first phase, not the entire thing. This is a monumental project. in a sense that it's going to change the underpinnings of a lot of the things that are done by staff. Hopefully, what we residents will realize is some improvements in either service, speed of service, or efficiency of that service. So, of those services. So we're looking forward to it, but it is a large project. We're slightly behind. We hope we're developing a plan to catch up by mid-October, so that we'll meet that January, February go live on the first phase. Our next meeting is September 29th, 2023.
All right, thank you very much. And yes, it is moving along, and it is a monumental project, but we will all benefit from it. Okay, it looks like item J is the purchasing adcock, which is President Carpenter, and she's not here, but their meeting was July 24th with a TBA meeting, which means she gave a report at our last board meeting. So let's move on to future agenda items. Does anybody, besides the one that we are going to approve, the revision to the disciplinary that's on 28 days, any other future agenda items for us? All right. Then we'll go around to director comments, and I will start with Director Garth Hoffner.
Thankfully, it was a very well-run meeting, very smooth. Thank you.
Miss Yvonne.
Thank you.
A woman of little words sometimes. Director Skillman.
Since we're televised, I'd like to take this opportunity to remind everybody your ballot has been mailed. You should have it. If you did not get one in the mail last week, you need to contact the office so that we can make sure that you get one. Secondly, you need to return your ballot. Even if you do not vote for anybody and it's blank, you need to return the ballot. And please be sure that you do not write on the white envelope that the ballot goes in, or it won't be counted, and that you sign the back of the pink envelope that the white envelope goes through, because if it's not signed, it won't be counted. 2 years ago, we had over 150 ballots that were not counted because people did not sign that envelope. And just lastly, you don't have to vote for anybody. You can vote for one person, 2 people, 3 people, or 4 people, however it comes up, but you do not have to vote for all of the committee. If you have just 1 or 2 favorites, you may vote for them, or you can vote for none at all.
And I'll just add, but vote.
But vote.
Right. Director Addington, any comments?
Well, except for some people not being able to remember the name of contractors, I thought it was a good meeting. I thought it was a great meeting, in fact.
Thank you.
All the way around. Thank you.
Thank you. And Director Hopkins, Treasurer Hopkins.
Thank you. No comment except for just vote, vote, vote. There's a significant amount of apathy. I call it apathy. But I think the returns are some close to 25% or less. So there are lots of things on the table and a lot of important issues on the table. To some degree, the near future of Mutuals and Laguna Woods is at stake based on your participation in the vote.
Thank you. Secretary Milner.
Great meeting. I just want to comment for those of you who are representatives from the mutuals on the GRF committees. Be sure you report back to your mutual what you learned in the committee. It is one of the ways that we communicate well with each other, and we don't need separate meetings to do that. If you're doing your job well, please just share with your mutuals what's going on in your committee. Thank you.
Ken.
Well, I also understand that you all want that everybody should vote, everybody should get involved. In my building, there are 24 units. Very few people are interested to vote. They don't have confidence on their own mutual directors or us, for that matter. But they want everything good for themselves. So it is some kind of reluctance in getting involved. They are so much involved with their own lives and some restrictions and physical disabilities that they may have. So my question to you to discuss how we can get these people involved, interested, at least for their own good. I have gone each unit and discussed this thing, that where they have any problem, how I can represent you in the board, similar things like that. Hey, again, I'm not interested. Is there any other way? I don't know what is happening in other buildings, and I live only one building, and there are so many. So, is it that we are having some communication problem, or they are not interested at all? So that's the thing. We may promote them to vote, but I don't know how much we will be successful. So this is going to persist for a while unless we have their interest to get involved. That's my comment today.
Thank you. And Martin.
Great meeting, and I want to personally thank you for all the help that you've given me to learning this, what's going on here, and I want to welcome Joan back, and it's good to see you, and I'm happy you're going to be part of Broadband Ad Hoc. That's going to be great. I appreciate it. And I'm going to plagiarize and say, vote, 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 like what others have said. It's got a chance to make a difference. It's time to, you got to put up or shut up.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
If you don't vote, don't complain.
You got a chance here. And I wanted to give a special shout out. I got a chance to meet with Chief Nunez this past month and really got a good understanding of what all goes on in security. And so I just want to give a shout out to those guys and thank them so much for their services and what they go through. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, my final thing is, I want to address one thing from early on about service in the village and getting maintenance. I recently had an experience, and it was fabulous, and everything was done. And anytime I've called, everything is done. Everybody makes mistakes, and of course some things are not maybe going to go right, but the vast majority of the things that are done in this village are done well, efficiently, and in the correct manner. And then my final thing is there's 12,736 manners here, and all of them get a vote, respective to the mutuals and to our upcoming election. And it's important to do your homework and vote. And that, in the meeting's adjourned. Thank you all. Recessed. Meeting is recessed to go to a break and then to the closed session, which will begin in 12:45. All right?
I have something when we stop being on the air.
Okay.